it's Doom here from Dungeons and Doom Biscuit. I'm one half of the Dungeon Swag team, and this is the Pigman we made in the last episode, and we're going to paint him up real quick and see what we can get out of him. So I'm going to start out, I'm going to use miniature paints, because I know that I'd like to use this barbarian flesh to get started. And we might not use miniature paints for the whole thing, but this color is exactly what I'm looking for this. So I'm coming on here, and I'm going a little thin. My brushes are kind of damp. And I'm just painting up this pig head in the hands. It's pretty gross. That's what we want. Look at those hands too while we're here. The hero click was Mr. Hyde, but I'd used his head on another project at one point and had him just kind of sitting around headless. We're going to air gun this real quick. Yeah. And then for the hands, we're just going to get a little bit of the skeleton bone, just a tiny drop of that. We're just going to make a light mix of these two, just like this. We're going to lighten that up to a normal flesh tone with a light brushing over the hands. And we're not going into a bunch of detail. This is a one-time fight, probably. So going out of our way to make it extra fancy wouldn't help our cause at all. Then I'm going to get a ridiculous color called Cameo Pink. I'm going to get, this is a craft paint, and I'm going to get this. I'm just going to mix it with that. Okay, something like that. Make it gross. Now with a brown wash over that, it's going to look a lot better, I promise. All right, let's start doing the bulk of his stuff. I'm going to do his clothes. I wonder if I get to speed paint those. Might as well not. For his pants, I'm going to get this Monster Brown. I'm going to use a little bit of that. That needs shaken up severely. Try that again. There we go. When I don't use these for a while, they tend to get a little funky. Funker. damp brush, Monster Brown. And I'm going to do him in a light kind of colors and then come back over this whole thing with a wash. And if you do this with a damp enough brush and your paints will thin out a little bit from the dampness, you'll get some of that additional depth from the undercoat. Which you'll get that from using speed paints, obviously, but I just didn't want to use speed paints on this. Not everybody has speed paints, and sometimes I feel guilty using stuff that I think people might not have. I will say, if you're going to invest in some better paints, get some Army Painter stuff. I'm not sponsored by them or anything, but I really like their products a lot. Big Army Painter fanboy. And those are good enough. I'm going to do his shoes in a color called Dark Stone. It's like a dark gray and a brown mixed. And I like it a lot. And I don't really care if I get this on the base because I got to come back and paint the base like the Painted Desert anyways. Good enough. Then since I have them out, I'm just going to mix those two. Into some kind of something color. And I'm going to use that on the handle of my weapon. Oh. You get a little bit of that. His butt crack there. All right. For his shirt, I'm going to use this fur brown. Oh, you bastard. Do what I want. Man, that's just bubbling up out of there, isn't it? Okay, let's get a little bit of that fur brown right here. And hope I have enough for the shirt. If not, we can come back and grab a little bit more. My brush is still damp from rinsing it off. I didn't mix this very well. And the way you can really tell is by how thin it is. But that's all right. We'll make it work. Be all right. Need to buy an actual paint mixer instead of beating it on the desk and shaking it anyways. Maybe I'll learn my lesson one day. Probably not. Let's get this all duded up. So he's looking extra fine in his ratty brown garb. Now we got to do that little ledge around the clothing there. Let's just take our time and outline that real easy. Okay, that's decent. It'll work for what we need it to for sure. And his hair. For his hair, I'm just going to keep my brush kind of damp. I'll get some of that dark brown. I'll get some of that reddish brown. Something like that. That's way too wet and it's not doing what I want at all. Super wet. Really should have tested that first, and I did not. So now I'm just trying to pull it around and distribute that moisture the best I can. Well, while I'm kind of figuring out what I want to do with that, let's get an off-white color and do the eyes. And we're going to probably have to come back and touch these up, because the wash is going to cover them somewhat. All right. Now, one of my giant fears right now is that if I throw an air gun on this, I'm going to deal with all that moisture on the hair. So I'm just going to come and try to dab away some of that moisture carefully. Okay. Then we're going to lightly air gun this with a +5 hot air gun of burning. we're going to get a silver and do that blade. The heck is going on here? Is it the paint being opened in this warm temperature creating a drama situation for me? Then we're going to get this in a light, like a medium to dark gray. Hope it doesn't start spraying out the top like that. Damn it. Why is that doing that? I wish I knew. I'm going to get this here. Get it kind of saturated through the brush. And I'm going to drag it around on the hair. Our Pigman is not a super young Pigman. Okay. Let's do that base. And unfortunately, we're going to use this deep brown from the Dollar Tree, which is very unpredictable and hard to use. But I've been using it kind of thematically in this whole Western thing. I feel like I'm kind of stuck using it as my kind of go-to everything color. I could get a bigger brush and do this a little faster, but I feel like where we are right now is in a good place. We don't want to ruin that. Okay. Then we're going to need a couple lighter colors to mute that down and create variation. And we want to leave that a little bit damp right now. So I'm using the same color I did the dry brush kind of stuff with. I might get the paint out of that. I'm going to get a couple colors I can... That's way more than I wanted. Damn it. So I'm going to start with this kind of beige color here. Which I have way, way too much of on my brush. I'm going to get this lighter color. Get in and touch some of that up on there. And I just want that to look like no kind of real pattern. Let's dry this off. And that doesn't have to be perfectly dry for what I want to do, but it's got to be kind of dry. Now we're going to get kind of a crappy fanned brush. We're going to get some of that khaki. We're going to get a lot of that out of the brush. And we're going to kind of hit these rocks up a little bit. And then any little weird spots on the base. And you can grab some of that moisture if you want. If you have some left. And just kind of drag that around onto the dry areas. Just like that. We'll hit it with the air gun again. Now let's get a piece of tape and a wash. Now you can make a pre-made wash, you can make a wash, or you could use a bought wash, or you could do it however you want. I'm going to use a little bit of this soft tone, or maybe that strong wash. Where's that strong tone? That strong tone. Here we go. I'm going to get this strong tone. I'm going to squirt some out there. And I'm going to hope that's enough. And I'm going to get a kind of a sloppy brush. Where's that ugly one I hate? Oh, ugly brush. Where are you at? There it is. I despise this brush. It'll be perfect. That strong tone. Now these are actually designed to be dipped, if you can believe it. You're supposed to have like a big jug of this and dip it in there. It just subdues their shit out of miniatures if you do that, though. I suppose if you're working on like a Napoleonic army of, 300 units, using the army painter method of base coat dip and or base coat paint your layers and then dipping, I suppose that's probably the most efficient way to handle that, but I don't know. I don't like to put a bunch of effort into a miniature then just lose any effort I initially put into it by just dipping it like a crazy man. Oops, sorry, I bonked the damn screen. I think I got him pretty well covered, I can't tell. Okay. I'm going to come back in. I'm going to dab up his face a little bit. I'm going to do his hands a little bit. Something like that. I'm going to come back in and get that off-white. Let me hit those eyes. Oh, those are piercing as shit. Now right here, I dabbed my finger on there and pushed with a little bit of pressure. And what that ended up doing was exposing a little bit of his undercoat. So I just grabbed a dab of a color that was close off my palette and covered that over, and I'm going to leave it be. Now I'm going to get a little bit of this into that nostril area. Just darken that back up. And I'm going to leave him sit in front of the fan overnight. But before that, I'm going to get some black paint and go around the edge of his base. Oops. You know what? There's a spot back here that there's just too much of that strong tone. A couple little spots like that. And as it pulls around, you'll notice if you're using strong tone. If you went a little heavy, you'll see it. Oh, we didn't even talk about running the Pigman. So in the town of Prosperity, there's a crossroads outside of town. And Prosperity's kind of like a purgatory. And you go to hell if you don't mend your ways, but you can kind of stay there for a long time. There's a crossroads outside of town where people make deals with this demon who kind of watches over Prosperity, looking for weakies that he can steal for the side of evil. And his deals never make it seem how you want to seem. So this working girl went to the demon and said, you know, men are pigs. And the demon said, oh, well, what happened? And she told the demon, hey, you know, so-and-so did this bad thing to me and blah, blah, blah. And he said, you know, I could turn him into a pig. I could turn him right into a pig for you. She laughed and said, I'd love to see that. He said, well, you're bound for hell anyways, right? Go ahead. Make the deal. Take the deal. Tell me what you want. Tell me you want this guy to turn into a pig. And I'll do it. So she thinks to herself, wow, I'm going to hell anyways, he said. I might as well. And she wished she would turn into a pig. Well, he did turn into a pig and he killed her. And then he started killing other people, and then they started shooting at him and he kind of ran out of town. And now he comes in at night and tries to snag people that are walking around after dark or people that are on guard shift and such. He is not a friendly creature. And that's why I wanted him to look a little kind of gross and disgusting. How does he fight? Well, He's got superhuman strength, healing factor, and if he eats someone or bites someone, he instantly heals for 1/2 of the damage he dealt. He has a pretty strong bite. He also has a slashing weapon, as you can see here, but you can put anything in there, a club, a mace, a ball and chain, whatever. Maybe was a prisoner in the jail cell when he turned into a pig. He's got a ball and chain around his ankle, whatever you come up with. And he, his main thing is he doesn't understand English. Hold on. Pardon me. He doesn't understand English or anything, so he just screeches and squeals and kills. So anyways, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Please like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell icon and all that stuff. Go to the website, buy some miniatures. Not these miniatures, the real Dungeon Swag miniatures. And check out the Discord. There'll be links to most of that stuff in the description. You can check it out there. Hey, we'll see you next time.